joining us to look at the security situation in the country now as retired Captain Umar Blade Aliyu. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
We've been on this, and I recall once you did say, as we get to see some of the insurgency go down, we're likely to see pockets of bombings here and there. Could you give us your perspective of what you think is happening now at the moment, especially now that it has even moved beyond Nigeria's northeast to other parts of the northern states?
Yes, what's happening now is not unusual. Seemingly, we are beginning to see a trend where sacking villages and ground attacks from the insurgents has virtually been curtailed. And the next thing is for them to retain that, what we call oxygen of publicity, by doing what next? Bombings. If you look at the history of terrorism in the Northeast and in the North generally, they do two things well. They do suicide bombings and they also sack villages. Now, sacking villages is virtually becoming untenable thanks to intensified military operations in the Northeast. So the next available, playground for them to pool their resources and concentrate on, so they can maintain the momentum of their fear campaign, is to hit marketplaces, all those places where you see people gathering. And I would have expected that by now, we should have anticipated such moves ahead of time and probably put measures in place to either protect or at the very least prevent them. I recall Kano, for instance, has had its baptism of this kind of thing. Abuja has had its baptism. Jos has also had its own at the central market, and Yola has come on the radar. And I wished those past opportunities or those past events were opportunities for us to have gleaned off one or two things. I recall the last time it happened in Yanya, I was on air and I was advocating the isolation of that particular area and bringing in people in the know, so that at the end of a period, 2 weeks at the most, you could come out with a blueprint going forward that should address security concerns of markets or gatherings that have at the very least 350 to 500 people, clustered at the same time. And if you look at these areas where these things have happened, they pass that test. There are places where you have people density. And there's that simple thread of similarity running through all the events, including the last two of these few hours past. So we can begin to know that these people prefer, if they had to do a suicide bombing, one, densely populated places, two, disorderliness. They all have that, yes.
Because markets are usually disorderly.
I personally went, after the Yanya incident, I personally went to Abuja one weekend, and I spent Saturday and Sunday within
the market.
Exactly. It's disorderly. Everything is happening everywhere. Everything is scattered. And so you find that because it's disorderly, nobody stands out. You just mingle in easily. Then we begin to define our market spaces. Some markets are accessible from any direction. Just face that direction and you will walk into the market.
Well, Captain,
those kind of things.
The suicide bombs, at least, there's been one or two incidents where at markets that were fenced, and the security operatives were at the entrance doing searches. There have been some incidents like that.
Yes, there will be incidents like that, depending on one, what you know, and two, what you have done about what you know. And I tell you something, if you juxtapose the positions and took the side of a suicide bomber, I've been able to see across these major incidents, Kano Central Mosque, Kano Motor Park, the last one, and all of the major ones, I've been able to see that they actually exploit loopholes that we actually look at as trivial. Let me give you an example. The frequency with which girls are being used now is such that at any security post, a young woman, a female in hijab, should start blinking red. Now I hear people say they came in an SUV, there were 4 or 6, they dropped 2. That shows you that something happened and people took note up to the time they came. They even know the car that brought them, who dropped them. But then how wouldn't we have done something that should have informed of if they were carrying something or not? So basically, we are looking at a situation where the markets have to actually upgrade. We run our markets pretty much the way it was run probably when my grandmother was a trader. Nothing has changed. But don't forget, the crime trends have upgraded. And we also have security measures that will need to upgrade. When I'm talking of security measures, I'm not even going to the police or law enforcement yet. How many markets have chief security officers?
You said that we need to upgrade. Perhaps
Exactly.
we should start looking at those measures.
Yes, all-inclusive security measures. All-inclusive security measures for markets from what we have been able to put together are security measures that will be driven by the traders in the market. And how does it work? It's simple. The law enforcement agencies will be regulators. There's going to be a blueprint. Going forward, you're going to meet these terms, and we're going to do regular audits. And if we come to your market and we see that that is not optimal, aspects of security are not optimal, we're going to put a security alert on your market. We're going to tell the general public they'll probably want to reconsider going there to do 1 or 2 things. Probably we put a red alert or a yellow alert or an orange alert on you. Now when that happens, sales will dwindle, and the traders who pay for those shops are going to breathe down the security officer's neck to upgrade those places.
So we should go back to levels of alertness,
Exactly.
grading those threats.
Exactly.
And also making sure that the markets take charge of such.
So we have to see a situation where these markets, the prominent ones particularly, before we start trickling down to the smaller ones, we have to make sure that these markets have security machineries in place, where even the CSOs of such markets are on police, SSS, civil defense radar.
Do you think the traders themselves might need to be given an orientation as regards what to do with the things they see, or information they have?
Yes, absolutely, that is needed. But then you need an interface. And that interface between them and the law enforcement is their CSO. So he can come in, being a market person, and he can be able to actually repeat what the police have said in parlance and terms that the average old woman or, unlettered person can understand.
Because I'm just wondering, I mean, as you rightly observed, it did mean that, people saw these people being dropped off. People noticed when they were dropped off.
Exactly.
But perhaps they just assumed they could be ordinary, people going to the market to buy their things, wearing their religious attire. And over again, we've seen that this religious attire is something that has now been used as a cover to, carry out, to wreak havoc in some instances. First of all, I wonder, what it is that they could have done if they, had any suspicion, especially in that time. Do you think that they could have been fast enough to say, we suspect that these people are suicide bombers, perhaps?
No, they wouldn't.
And could they have done anything in that instance? Because I still wonder if they're suicide bombers, it would seem that they're primed to kill anyway, and any attempt to go to them or to hold them, pending when the police shows up,
that would be foolhardy.
it will be futile, because they'll still. What do you think that anybody can do if they suspect suicide bombers, for instance?
Yes, much are the options. The fact that people observe them shows that people are actually a bit more alert. People take note and cognizance of what goes on around them. But you see, that kind of alertness, that kind of surveillance has its limitations. No human being can look at anyone and know he's carrying a bomb. That's where the need for upgrade comes up. Okay? Now, there are certain cordons you put in place, hijab or no hijab, that will see through anyone, any car. And those are the things that we need to
That's
do.
equipment you're talking about.
Exactly. We need to order our markets. We need to rearrange our markets. Having rearranged our markets, we need to ensure that movement in our markets are not just scattered. For example, if we decided to start putting certain places, a place for everyone in its place, a place for everything in its place, then the access and exit points will have this, do I call them, extrasensory devices, which the average human senses cannot be.
Is it feasible?
Very feasible.
Can we really have them in? I mean, I'm thinking of the typical market. I've never been to the GSM market, but I assume that it's just an open place, perhaps with a fence. Is it really possible to have an equipment that could be that sophisticated there?
Absolutely. If you decided to place 10 entrances and exit points in a market, as many as the population will require, and each of those entrance and exit points had a sensor, you will be able to see and know who comes with what. The traditional metal detector that is openly displayed is retroactive, because if I see it, I will look for another place to access your market from. I won't have those things and come to you with it.